You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. It's finally happened. It's finally arrived. The IPL. It's back. It's back, and it's as big as ever. And as you can tell, because I'm in yellow, we have a victorious weekend for CSK. We've seen 6 of the teams in action. We've got a lot to talk about. No particularly close games, but some big performances, good and bad, for us to get into. And I'm delighted to say that Ross Legg is alongside me to talk through it all. How are you doing, Ross?
Pretty devastated. As I lost a bet, I'm having to wear Sunrisers Hyderabad colours when I'm a Rajasthan Royals fan, and it's fair to say that Sunrisers Hyderabad just edged Rajasthan this morning.
Yes, you could indeed say that. We've also got CSK Mumbai Indians to get into, which we will kick off with first, since that's just wrapped up, and then we'll cast our mind back to yesterday's game between RCB and the champions KKR, who managed to beat the orange warnings for thunderstorms on Saturday to deliver us a first taste of the IPL this year. So we'll get into all of that very, very soon. But before we do, Ross, do you want to give us our quick messages for our new partners?
Yes, we are sponsored by, well, not sponsored by, we're in partnership with. Yes. It's a more classy kind of arrangement, with Pitch Magazine. And they are a sporting quarterly, which you can sign up to. It's got 4 editions per year, as per the quarter part. They are specialist in in-depth, kind of detailed analysis. They're breaking down Harry Brooks' technique, which definitely England fans and Delhi fans would like to obviously see. And you can get 15% off your first order. And Max, when it comes to sports coverage, having a classy magazine, which you can spend a little bit of time with, maybe a little drink in hand, maybe you're a little like you're doing right now. Maybe you've got something that is just a nice way to take your Sunday pains away. And you can use one of our codes if you go to their website and make sure that you go, I think it's Pitch plus Cricket Pod, and you'll get 15% off of your first order. That's Pitch plus Cricket Pod 15. That's the important bit on pitch-mag.co.uk. Right, let's go on with the IPL, Max, because it's brilliant. The IPL, I love it, absolutely love it. It's back with a bang. Yes, the games have been a little bit one-sided, ish. But there is an awful lot to talk about. I think we should start with CSK's, I want to say, comfortable win against Mumbai Indians.
What should have been CSK's comfortable win, and maybe it was, if you weren't willing one of the teams involved to actually do something. Maybe as a complete neutral, you thought it was plain sailing. But anyway, we'll get into it. CSK, I picked them when I say I picked them, I had them as potentially one of the main potential weaknesses for CSK this year, issues with power play bowling. And turns out not a problem today against Mumbai Indians, because before you could say, hey, Sky, do you want to turn the feed over to the game that's happening now and not the post-match show for the game that's just finished, Mumbai Indians were 2 down, thanks to Khalil Ahmed, who snaffled Rohit for, nothing, or 4 balls, and then Ryan Rickleton, who played on. And after Will Jacks was trapped by Ashwin, another English batter, falling to Ravi Ashwin, who saw that coming. 3 wickets down in the power play. Despite getting off to a reasonable start run rate-wise, it was a bit of an uphill climb for Mumbai. And that was before Noor Ahmed got involved. And, it was the best figures for a spinner for CSK against Mumbai Indians that he produced today. 4 for 18 or 4 overs. A pretty impressive spell from the young Afghan. Stopped Mumbai Indians gaining any further momentum from their power play efforts, and they did well and were indebted to Deepak Chahar by the end to even get up to 155, where they ended, which is something to bowl at. And with your opening bowlers of Trent Bolt and Deepak Chahar, maybe something that they felt they could steal a march on and get themselves into the game. But what they didn't see coming, Ross, was CSK's masterstroke. Impact sub, Raul Tripathi opened the batting, purely sacrificial. I can only assume. Get him in there, get him out. Gaikwad in at 3, and you've given your offering to the cricketing gods in the wicket of Tripathi, which allowed Ravindra and Gaikwad to essentially end the game within about 10 overs. And then for some reason, CSK decided that they were going to, I don't know, try and extend it, make a game of it. You could say, after seeing Ravi Jadeja's run out in comical fashion at the end, that perhaps they thought it would be a perfect opportunity to kick things off with MS Dhoni hitting the winning runs, but Rachin Ravindra was having none of that shit and blasted a 6 from the first ball of the final over to ensure no further shenanigans unfolded. But yeah, so I think, by the halfway stage, at least, of that Chennai innings, they needed less than a run of ball with 7 wickets in hand. It was never really going to go any other way. But credit to MI for sticking in there, and credit, I think, to Vignesh Batur, who snaffled 3 wickets. Looks like another one for the old Mumbai Indians scouting department. Victory for them, as he looked pretty decent. Maybe it was just a track for left-arm wrist spinners, who knows? But a decent effort, I suppose, to try and drag themselves back into the game for Mumbai. But really, it was fairly comfortable for CSK in all things told. And a good win, 4 in a row for CSK over MI.
Mumbai haven't won their opening game since 2012 or something ridiculous as well at the IPL.
So, without Hardik Pandya as well, it should be said, which probably didn't help.
Definitely. Max, you talked about Noor Ahmed there. He is going to be a problem for every team that plays against CSK, especially at the Cheap Hawk. He was absolutely mint today. And we have to remember, we can't ever not give credit to MS Dhoni. Did a lovely, sumptuous stumping to dismiss Sky, which it was nice to see. I actually quite enjoyed Dhoni being part of this whole kind of theatre, really. And it kind of showed that, he's still up to it, right? If you're kind of 43, 44, and you're coming up against Noor Ahmed, people watching, you literally you've got every camera you possibly can do if you really want to, and you can watch his hand. You still don't know which way the ball's coming out of Noor Ahmed's hand. And Dhoni, right up to the task, did a brilliant job behind the stumps, I thought, today. But Mumbai, they were a little bit disappointing. We said in the preview that they've gone the Galacticos approach. Rohit Sharma obviously immediately failed. We've been saying that should they have really retained Rohit Sharma? It was kind of like one of those things. Can you really drop the India captain? But unfortunately, he didn't come out smelling of roses today. Their 2 overseas players faltered in Rickleton and Jacks. And Tilak Varma, who, Max, we've talked about the Indian glow up that's happened in the recent months. Tilak Varma looks like a sexy man. He's like a Prince Charming. It's unbelievable what he's doing right now. But it was just not enough.
His cricket wasn't as sexy today, though, was it?
No, it just wasn't. They could not get away. And I think, Max, we've seen this kind of anaconda stranglehold before, right, from CSK. Last year, didn't quite kind of get what they needed to at their home ground. But Max, when it comes to their spin department, Ashwin, Jadeja, Noor Ahmed, Rachin Ravindra, that is, didn't even get on to bowl today. It's a pretty daunting task for teams to come and play.
When you've got 12 overs covered by those 3, I'm not sure you need much from Rachin Ravindra. It's nice to have the option, I suppose, on a pitch that, if there's a pitch that will take even more turn. But it's as potent a trio of spinners as I can remember CSK having in recent years. Obviously, it's been Jadeja and Theekshana in the last couple of years. Theekshana operating in the power play quite a lot, and that's worked quite well. And then Santner offering another option, but not always playing. But this time round, you've got 3 different. That's the other thing. You've got 3 very different, skillful, dangerous bowlers that you can use in different phases of the game. We saw Ashwin used in the power play, got the wicket of Will Jacks, did his job up front there. Noor Ahmed attacking, mystery, spins it both ways. Will have tie people in knots at times, and then you've got Jadeja to bowl the 7th over every week. And but it just gives them not just it's not just about the skill of those players; it's about the different roles that they can perform as well. And I think that's what's going to make it very difficult to face CSK at the Chipork this year. It might be a different story at some of the other grounds. I don't think it mattered what you could have bowled earlier on today, but certainly on pitches that you'll get in Chennai, I think, when those three are on it, you're in for a tough old day. So it was disappointing from Mumbai Indians, but in fairness to them, they were playing against a team set up to play at this ground, and they were missing a couple as well when they Mumbai. So I suppose they probably won't be worrying about it too much in terms of the result today. It's certainly not terminal. It's disappointing, but they knew they were up against it a bit without their captain, obviously banned because of slow over rates last year, which is now no longer a thing. Which is, where do you sit on that? Since I've brought it up, do you think people are right to say how ridiculous it is that Hardik Pandya is now banned? Now they've changed the rules, or
I'm very much of the I'm of the baseball solution. I think for shot clocks and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's no fans shouldn't be punished. And that's what's happening here, right? Fans shouldn't be punished because of a slow over rate. They're already getting punished because they're having to watch a slow over rate. If you then take out Hardik Pandya or insert another very, very good cricketer here, you are taking away from a paying member of the public or a subscribing member to whatever kind of platform they're watching on, etc. Right? So I genuinely think it's an absolute shambles, and I'm glad they've got rid of the banning rule on that front. I do think it's a bit ridiculous that you've got this unbelievable showpiece that is the IPL. And let's be fair, integrity isn't always the number one thing that's the priority for the IPL.
Well, cricket in general, let's be honest.
Yeah, right. And so why would you then go, oh, do you know what? Yeah, we're going to make sure that ban continues? Because I know there is an element to it, but it's pointless, right? It's pointless. This is your opening match. You've got your two biggest teams in the IPL, and you've got Hardik Pandya, which was like, he was the face of all of the trouble and shenanigans last year because he took it over the captain from Rohit Sharma after his move from Gujarat Titans, and then he's not here for this opening game. Like, it again, you have stolen a moment away from the paying fans, and I think that's kind of a bit unacceptable. But ultimately, they were going to lose anyway, right? They've not won in a decade. So their opening game of the season. So just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, and on a 3-match losing streak against CSK and playing away. It didn't seem like the stars had aligned for them, it must be said. But I think fair enough. You don't think then that that the halftime show was enough to give a bit back to the fans today?
What a waste! What a waste!
I don't know what that was.
But I think overall, Max, CSK, if we get back to the cricket, disappointingly, the Huda Tripathi redemption arc not quite taken off yet, but good to see them in the playing 12.
Anytime.
Yeah, and it is. You always have to remember it's the first game. Like, there's going to be a load of things kind of working themselves out, and so I'm not going to get too down and out on it. Sam Curran, your precious boy, didn't have the best of games, really. I'm still not convinced people know how to use Sam Curran properly.
Well, I didn't get the evidence from today that CSK had decided how they were going to use him. Obviously, he got 1 over in the power play, opening the bowling. Didn't go particularly well, and then not used for the rest of the game. Like, obviously, 12 overs from Ashwin Jadeja and Noor Ahmed, probably bankers. Nathan Ellis, prime candidate for death bowling, so that's fair enough. Maybe Khalil Ahmed had a good day, so you've got the options to not use Sam Curran. I don't mind them not using the ball. I do think with the bat there is more of a question. I feel perhaps today he in a game that was maybe close to 1, he fancied a little bit of bragging rights against his pal, and it went egg on his face instead of balls into the stand. That was quite amusing. But Sam Curran at 6, it's not really. Although, to be honest, the position that he was in, knocking it around and making sure that CSK got home for an easy win, was probably the kind of thing that you'd back Sam Curran to do. But I do think he's probably better used a little bit further up the order. But who are you gonna? You're not gonna swap him with Gaikwad. You're not gonna swap him with Shivam Dubé, I suppose the only thing you can think about is the role of Raul Chapati in that order. So unless you've got someone that you think would fit in better as a number 6, shove Gaikwad up 1 and have Sam Curran at 3 or something like that, maybe that's an option. But there's time for CSK to work it out and work out how they want to do it. And in fairness to them as a franchise, they tend to be the kind of side that are a bit better at doing that than some of the others.
Yeah, I do think there's probably a little bit of an ego thing there. So you talk around, actually just wanted to take Will Jacks, his Surrey teammate, kind of downtown. Like, I can kind of get it, but actually that petulance is exactly the reason why people do get a little bit annoyed about certain players, and Sam Curran might well fall into that
English
category.
players.
So yeah. Max, I was very impressed with Rachin Ravindra. Normally we're kind of, why have they taken so slow? Why have they been so slow in their innings? Kind of what were they doing today? But Rachin kind of played it almost how CSK exactly wanted it to go, which I find a little bit strange because, as you say, Gaikwad came in, completely changed the game, got the run rate right down, really easy to go through. But those middle overs, actually Mumbai fought back. I thought I think it's fair to say, and Vignesh Putur, I think, comes away from it with an awful lot of credit in the bank. The left arm spinner,
absolutely.
And then also kind of just seeing some of the others come in. I mean, even Namandir bowled reasonably well and kept things tight. And Mumbai tried to give as good as they got, right? From kind of the maybe there's an argument that Santner could have bowled a little bit more, but overall, they were onto a bit of a losing game, I think here.
Yeah, I think it was probably a matchup thing there, wasn't there? Because you had, Ravindra batted through, Shivam Dubé, Sam Curran, and Jadeja. You got 4 left-handers in there, so I'm guessing, guessing the Santner call was as much about matchups as anything. But I think you're right. I think Ravindra and Gaikwad almost swapped their normal roles as well, didn't they? It was Gaikwad the aggressor and Ravindra playing the measured, sensible. But it was a mature innings, I thought. And when it did get to the point where whatever it was, 20 off 16, I think it was at the time, it was like, okay, we do need to think about boundaries. Bang, down the wicket, 6. See you later.
Yeah, and 4 big ones, right? 4 big sixes. So
really well timed to put the game to bed from Ravindra. I thought. I really rate him as a player, and I was pleased to see them pick him today.
Yeah, they were kind of saying it was a bit of a coming of age kind of innings. They were trying to bill it as. I just think actually,
he's had a few of those already.
I think exactly. I think he's actually a pretty good player already. You don't need to have kind of that kind of commentary. And then, as you said, Max, at the top, Jadeja getting run out in comical fashion at the end to almost like manufacture Dhoni coming in. Is Jadeja just a bit of a can I say this on the podcast? I think I've said it before. Just a bit of a beta cuck, really, isn't he, for Dhoni? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like a little pet for CSK that they kind of just like have on a string. Like what was going on? And then Dhoni was. I always felt like Dhoni was a little bit embarrassed by it, and then was just like, look, I'm not going to hit the winning runs here. Knocked 2 balls down, and then Ravindra just pumped Santner right into the stand. So
batted a little bit like a 60-year-old who comes in at number 11, Dhoni, and for those 2 balls he faced. Hopefully, we see a bit more of last year's Dhoni when it comes to it. It's very silly, isn't it? The whole thing. It gave the fans what they wanted, didn't it? They got to scream for.
But I just it's again, you can't have like this, like the way in which the commentators go across it. They really kind of go, it's really, really important that we have like sporting integrity. We do all of this, but you've got this entertainment package, right? And they're just like, people have flown in from America to come and watch just this moment. What? So they really is that really what you're going to talk about? And it's just a bit frustrating if you're like a proper cricket fan, where the talent on show is really good. Actually, the circus that goes along with it, and I mean the circus we can talk about in a minute because Rajasthan Royals are a bloody circus today. But the circus around it, just I can see why it rubs people up the wrong way who are detractors from the IPL.
It makes it feel more like Soccer Aid, doesn't it, than an FA Cup final?
Yeah, it's like WWE wrestling.
1-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo coming on for 2 minutes at the end on his crutches when the game is 4-1 to I don't know.
Yeah. There's a penalty.
Rampages. Oh no! Who would have seen it? Yeah. It does. There is an element of that, isn't there? But it's the IPL. That's how it works. It is, and that's partly why we love it as well, isn't it? Let's be fair.
It's entertainment, right? You're not going to spend your Sunday watching something that isn't truly entertaining, but there is a little bit around. It's trying to do a little bit of everything. So it's one of those
It gets
things.
silly, but it does give it that extra edge that makes it a little bit more worth watching, and why we love it so much. The silly
a
stuff.
little bit of grin and bear it kind of thing. But anyway, Max,
Good.
CSK deserved opening victory. They look like they've got some nice talent, and also that the length of their batting lineup is also there. So if Tripathi and Huda can end up being in any kind of form, then they're going to be a decent side again this season.
Yep. Okay, let's have a quick break, shall we? And then we'll come up and we will finish off with the two other games. So, as you mentioned, Rajasthan Royals not covering themselves in any glory against Sunrisers, and RCB putting down an early marker against last year's champions. So we'll be back in a second.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back to the Cricket Podcast after that very long break. We are here. We're talking about the weekend's action, the first weekend of the IPL. We've done CSK, Mumbai Indians. That's done and in the rearview mirror. It's time to move on to the big boys, the Sunrisers Hyderabad. 1 run away from their record score. At one point, 300 looks sort of possible. It was mathematically possible into the final over, which is probably as good as you could hope for, really. Heinrich Klaassen was around. There was a man on 100 or 40. It looked like it might happen. It didn't happen, but my God, Sunrisers, they really put their foot on the gas. Ishan Kishan, he's back, it seems. Well, I'll ask you. Well, you can tell me whether or not he's back in a minute, Ross. But he scored 106 or 47 at number 3 for Sunrisers. A pretty impressive innings. Everyone smashed it around, and it was really, really horrible if you were a Rajasthan Royals fan or anyone who turned up wanting a close game of cricket. In fairness to Rajasthan Royals, with the bat, especially after losing Jaiswal early on and Rian Parag not long after to Simajit Singh, they put on a pretty good show of making a fist of it. Yeah, they ended up 44 runs short, but that's not bad when they were 24 for 2. And credit to Sanju Samson, obviously only able to bat because of his previous finger injury. So leaving the captaincy duties to Rian Parag. He scored 66 of 37. Sanju Samson, that is. And Dhruv Jurel, the man that we maligned Rajasthan Royals for spending all that money on buying him back, bearing in mind they could have retained him for substantially less. But he looked pretty good for his 70 of 35. Hetmeyer, again, a man we sort of panned Rajasthan Royals for spending so much on retaining, 42 of 23, doing what he usually does down the order. And even Shubman Dubey, 34 off 11. He got in on the act as well. So there's maybe some crumbs of comfort to take from the pile of ashes that is Rajasthan Royals' opening game. But obviously the story is Sunrisers Hyderabad and their big innings. And secondary to that, the big story would be Jofra Archer notching up the worst bowling figures of anyone ever in the IPL. Well done, Jofra, 0 for 76. Oops. Where would you like to start with all of this, Ross? Because it was something.
They retained Jurel, so actually,
they did.
They retained it. He was one of the expensive ones they retained, and yeah, to be fair, he played pretty well today. But when it came to the Sunrisers innings, let's start with the good stuff for Sunrisers. They were a machine, like a relentless machine today, and I don't think I've ever seen it when the top 6, like everyone who batted, had a strike rate of over 200. That is preposterous.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kept on coming and coming and coming. And when you get to the point where you've got Klaassen coming in and 200 is already on the board in the 14th over, or whatever it was, it's an unbelievable luxury to kind of have that ready. So it's pretty spectacular. When it came to the opening partnership of Abhishek Sharma and Travis Head, it was kind of serene, Max. It didn't feel brutal. I know the result was brutal, but the way in which they were batting, it was controlled but devastating. And they found the boundary with kind of ease, really. And Max, this is where I'm going to start to go off with slightly of the run-up for Rajasthan Royals. Why did they give the captaincy to Rian Parag in the first place? He then chooses to field first against his Sunrisers team, which is a bananas
On an
decision.
absolute deck,
Like,
which you said was a little dry.
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was an insane choice, and it baffled me because one, it's bloody hot. This afternoon was bloody hot where they were playing. Secondly, you're up against Sunrisers where their biggest advantage is their batting, and they are more than capable of putting up 286 and battering you. Like literally, they batted Rajasthan Royals out of the game. Rajasthan Royals they just don't have the fortitude to go and hit that many runs. I don't think. And they then decided, even if it was a little bit dry, where was Hasaranga? Is he even around? I know that you're really probably not going to pick him as you don't want him to come on and field for you. He's not an excellent fielder, Hasaranga. But he is a pretty good leg spinner, and you've bought him 2-bowl leg spin. And here you would have thought that would be maybe a little bit more of a challenge for some of these guys. But Faruqi and Jofra Archer, they weren't at the races. I thought that Jofra Archer was an upward trajectory after quite a difficult kind of 12 months coming back from injury. He looked a little bit better at the Champions Trophy. But here he was slapped everywhere, and as were all the other bowlers. It didn't look like Rajasthan Royals had a plan to it. They were almost surprised at how Sunrisers came out and played. And does that feel fair? Because the second they had a plan, it went out the bloody window by the second over.
Yeah, I mean it is a bit difficult to have a plan. I think when the ball is disappearing to all parts, and maybe your plan was, well, Jofra Archer and Faruqi are quite good with the new ball, and if we can get an early wicket or two, then maybe that takes the edge off what Sunrisers are able to do. Maybe they didn't have a backup plan, or maybe they were banking on Theekshana, doing the business early up. The thing that surprised me the most about Rajasthan Royals was what you said, your point about the spin, especially bearing in mind at the toss, Rian Parag said that the pitch looked a little dry. To then go in with one spinner and use half of his overs in the power play. They did end up using Nitish Rana, and he only went for 9 runs, the best economy rate of all the Rajasthan Royals bowlers today. But Theekshana, he went for 13 and over, but he took a couple of wickets, and it turned. Theekshana's not a prodigious turner of the ball, but he got it to turn. And when you're seeing that, you're thinking, what have we done here? Because the middle overs, whoever it was, whether it was Jofra Archer, Sandeep Sharma, I mean, a little bit of credit, I think, to Tushar Deshpande. He finished up with 3 wickets, 2 of them right at the end, of course. But he did get up and he did come in and get rid of Travis Head and looked reasonably useful. But I thought not having another spinning option was kind of crazy for Rajasthan, and I also think that they did just bowl and field quite badly as well. There was an element
all
of
over the place,
underperforming. I mean,
over the place.
Catches being thrown for 6, letting things through your legs in the field, going for 4. There was a definite case of if it could go wrong, it will go wrong. And
the ball did. To be fair, the ball did fall into a gap on a few occasions, etc. Right? But take nothing away from the Sunrisers Hyderabad batting performance. It was blistering. And it felt to me that Rian Parag was there to have a day out, and the fact that he promoted himself up the order and then proceeded to get out immediately was disastrous. If Jaiswal gets out, you want to try to maintain the left-hand, right-hand combination at the top, right? So you can use Nitish Rana, who I'm assuming was scheduled to come in at number 3.
He normally bats 3, doesn't he?
It was a pure ego move from Rian Parag. It was one that a very inexperienced captain would do. I remember when I was 21 and I was captaining the third team, I promoted myself up the order because I was like, oh, this is great. I want to do captain's innings, etc. I was 21 and a fucking idiot. And it didn't work out. And Rian Parag has done exactly the same thing on one of the biggest scales you possibly can do it.
This is a guy who spent the entire of last season batting 4.
And doing an amazing job.
Desperate to bat 4 for years because you're like, I'm a number 4. Turned up at number 4, was amazing. Yeah. Stay there. Why are you changing that? Yeah, probably saw the runs and thought, get a few today. But
absolutely. Yeah, it was petulant. That is what it was, and I'm
Mm,
I'm very annoyed at
childish.
it. But well, I think what you did say, that they did show a little bit of fight though, the Royals.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all doom and gloom, and Jarrell showed that he's a class act. Like, he's really, really good at cricket. Sanju Samson also showed that even when returning from a dodgy finger, he's really good. Hetmeyer did what Hetmeyer does, plays about 20 balls, does a pretty decent job, but it was never going to be enough. But Shubham Dubey, hello. Welcome to the
Mm.
IPL and welcome to the Rajasthan Royals. I'm liking kind of what you've got to show here, mate.
Yeah, it's probably that question about who filled in that extra spot for Rajasthan. I mean, he's got a decent T20 record overall, but obviously not all of
Not
that will
yeah,
be IPL step down. But it was good from him. I mean, it was probably a day for it, I think.
yeah.
But maybe that's maybe he will nail down that position and keep the 13-year-old out of the side for the rest of the year. But I don't think Shubham Dubey will be the guy that Rajasthan will be pinning their hopes on for the rest of the season. I mean, I think it's encouraging for them that Dhruv Jurel put in a decent innings. We know he's a quality player, but I guess the question was, is he that level IPL wise to score the kind of innings that you would need to chase down 280 odd? And maybe there's some signs there that he is that kind of player. So when things come together and they bowl a bit better, then probably a bit more hope for Rajasthan Royals. But it wasn't good today. I'm scrabbling around to try and find some positives from how it went, but it is difficult
Yeah.
because they did get quite pounded. But no, they will perform better with the ball, and they will perform better in the field, and they will do better than this.
Yeah, it just felt like they were underprepared and they didn't particularly have a very good strategy for this game. But this is a statement win, Max, for Sunrisers. We talked about in our preview show that this team has improved itself on the batting front, and we've not talked a lot about Ishan Kishan. But Ishan Kishan here was free. He batted with complete abandon. It was like absolutely brilliant to watch, and he was dispatching everybody. In particular, Jofra Archer, and it was almost nice to see Ishan Kishan not underneath like the Mumbai Indian shackles, right? There's so much pressure for him to do great over the last few years because of the amount of money they spent trying to retain him, and then all of that kind of was just a real problem. Here, Max, he looked brilliant.
He did, yeah. A far cry from the last couple of years of Ishan Kishan, much more like the first year of Mumbai greatness that we saw opening the batting. And maybe the move down to number 3 is beneficial for him when you've got the likes of Head and Abhishek to get things going. Ishan Kishan can come in and keep the momentum up, and maybe with the ball being that little bit older and not moving around, perhaps that's something that allows him to show his skills a little bit more. Obviously, look, we're looking at one game here, and he's performed incredibly well in this one game. But it is also on a pitch that you're able to score nearly 300 runs on in a game of T20 cricket against a bowling attack that was not exactly on form. So I am encouraged by what I've seen. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Ishan Kishan. I am not going to sit here and say that he's back to his best or as good as we always thought he was, but it's certainly a big step in that direction, and a big improvement on what Sunrisers did have batting 3 last year, which was either Mayank Agarwal or Rahul Tripathi, who we saw later on today not do so well. So regardless of what version of Ishan Kishan they've got, with it looking like the better one, it's a step up and a step in the right direction, and looking good for Sunrisers. The other guy that came in, Aniket Verma, hit 6 straight away and then ended up holding out to Deshpande, but that was nice to see that they're not shying away from the way they want to play. New guy comes in straight away. Yeah, I'm not worried about getting out for
Go and
getting out on the
express yourself,
cheap.
have some fun, mate.
I'm doing it. Yeah. So it's good. It's an exciting Sunrisers team. They're going about it in a fun way, and I think maybe by the end of the year you'll have switched from pink to orange.
Oh,
If you wear that shirt long enough.
Don't count your chickens on that one. Max, should we take a very quick break and then come back with RCB beating current champions KKR?
Let's do it.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Okay, so the final game of the weekend, it was KKR against RCB at Eden Gardens on Saturday, and it was a good early test to see whether RCB are better than they were and whether KKR are up to the standards, whether Sunil Narine can still score bunches of runs at the top of the order at stupid strike rates. Is Ajinkya Rahane worthy of being the captain? Well, some of the answers we got are yes, because Sunil Narine can still do it. And Ajinkya Rahane scored 56 of 31 and looked every bit like the number 3 that KKR were after. And at the halfway stage, KKR were looking good. 107 for 2 when Sunil Narine fell on for a decent score, but Rahane fell almost immediately after that. And then it all kind of fell in a heap, apart from the young, highly rated Raghavanshi, who put together a decent 30. There was nothing really to speak of. Venki Iyer out cheap, Andre Russell out cheap, and Rinku Singh
and
out cheap. The guys didn't really get to see much of last year. Not really doing the business, and 174 for 8. Like it's an okay score in T20 cricket. Pretty terrible compared to what we saw and what we just spoke about, but not anywhere near what KKR would have liked to get to from the position they were in. And that showed, because they were duly dispatched by RCB. It was done. It was done by the end of the power play. Phil Salt doing the damage to his old side. Virat Kohli batting through for 59. Not often you see someone bat through for 59. It's not like he was slouching either,
Yeah, straight around 163.
Basically, after Phil Salt got out, barely hit another ball. It was quite odd, and it was a procession really. By the end, it was very impressive from RCB. Even Liam Livingston managed to get in on the act and do a bit of finishing. I guess all you need to do with some of these guys, take the England shirt off, and they're all right again.
Well, I don't know if 15 is going to be our thing of doing all right again. We're going to have to
readjust. Hey, it's a whole lot more than we're used to.
But Max, let's start with KKR. The bomb squad, the engine room, failed miserably. Right, we ran out of gas, whatever you're going to call it. It was a real disappointment for KKR. The Narine onslaught goes against kind of mathematics, and probability. That's fine because it's Narine. But it was I thought him and Rahane put together a nice little partnership. And Rahane, he's a class player. Like the way in which he puts together his innings, his stroke making, he is absolutely delightful to watch. But it was really disappointing to see the likes of Rinku Singh promoted up as well. In the preview, we said, are we going to see more of Rinku Singh instead of having him kind of down the order? Actually, are we going to start to see him kind of create a little more innings, etc.? Him, Dre Russ, and Ramandeep Singh all failing. It's a little bit frustrating, but not terminal, Max. Where I do think they've got a real problem is their domestic pace bowling. Vanahab Aurora was pounded, I think it's politely to say, going at 14 and over. They don't. Harshit Rana didn't have the best day at the office either. And it was a really comprehensive performance by RCB, which I'm not sure if we've been able to say that many times in the last kind of few years.
It was a very, very un-RCB way of going about it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just very competent and serenely professional.
Professional. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was almost a clinical way of batting second, and did a really, really good job. Phil Salt, out of ODI cricket into T20 cricket, fantastic. Virat Kohli, is it a decent run?
Phil Salt, another man, take the England shirt off, and he's good again.
Max, I think for KKR, the only other question I got: why did Dre Russ not bowl? That's a worry for me. because he was a potent weapon for them last season.
Yeah, I would suggest perhaps it's just a case of they knew there was no way they were going to win the game, so why bother risking a man who does have some known knee issues, who might, you don't want to risk him if you're going to need him further down the line. He took stacks of wickets for them last year, bowling at the death. A little bit expensive, but vital wickets. And if it's a guy that you think you might be relying on, especially as you say, with your other options being Five Aurora and Spencer Johnson, who also took a bit of a pounding yesterday. You want to keep that. You want to keep those options available, I suppose. So maybe it was just a bit of cotton wool. Sunil Narayan, obviously, chucking his way to 1 for 27 off 4. No, nothing new there. So at least there's something that's consistent with the KKR bowling attack. Yeah, I mean, even Varun Chakravarti got a bit of a pasting as well. So a few bit of introspection required for KKR, I think, after that. But it's not always gonna go like that, is it? Quinton de Kock's not always gonna fail. That engine room, more often than not, should do the job, or at least it will do better than what did they get between them? 22 runs between them. They'll do better than that most days.
We better bloody hope so.
I would like to think. So bad day at the office, like you said. It's only one game, but what you can say is that Josh Hazlewood looked very, very good with the ball, which was something that we weren't necessarily sure how it would go because he's not played for a while, and T20 cricket he's good at, but it's not his primary form, I suppose. But he looked as good as he's ever been. And Krunal Pandya in those middle overs was really useful as well. So good.
I think
good signs generally.
Well, Max. I think that Krunal part is important as well. They last year, RCB's main domestic spinner was Khan Sharma.
Yeah.
And in this space, actually, Suyesh played as well, the kind of the right arm mystery spinner. And but Max, it was good he suited RCB's colours first and foremost. Krunal thought it looked pretty good in the colours.
Yeah.
But secondly, took on that almost like I'm the senior bowler in this spin department. I'm going to make sure that I do what I need to do, and that I think what RCB have been missing. And Krunal Pandya is not the most consistent of performers, I think it's fair to say, but when he gets it right, it really does go right. So I agree. And seeing Josh Hazlewood back after the last 12 months he's been on and off injury wise, looked fit and looked firing, didn't he? So
Krunal Pandya is a smart player as well. That's the thing. He varies his pace. He's got a good way of thinking about the game and how he deals with certain matchups. So I think it's good for RCB to have a smart cricketer like that in there. It's a bit of maturity, and maybe that's just what this side needs to turn themselves into a force. Maybe we can round off the show just before we get to talking about the games that are coming up this week. After seeing all of the sides in action, has anything immediately changed your mind, surprised you, made you change your assessment?
RCB looked better than I thought they were going to. But Bhuvaneshwar Kumar didn't play, so I can only assume that's down to some kind of injury, niggle, or fitness issue, as you'd typically expect him to probably be in the side. I mean, I would pick.
You'd typically expect him to be injured, wouldn't you? So
so I think, and that's the risk of this RCB side. Hazlewood has been injured recently. Bhuvi is injured. If they go down, Yash Dayal's okay. Raseek Salam, is again okay, but the drop off compared to the talent of Kumar and Josh Hazlewood is significant, right? And so I think that is a risk area. But RCB collectively, their batting unit looked better together, and Patidar as captain came in, and that's a huge knock for him, absolutely huge, to be like, no, this is my team, I'm the captain, this is what we're doing, great. And I think it really has set the tone. KKR, I think, as you said, they're going to blow hot and cold, and if it comes right like it did last season, then it's really going to work for them. But I think there's a massive downgrade in what they've got from a bowling perspective. And then when it comes to CSK, it's exactly what I expected from CSK. I must admit, like an opening win at the Cheaport, like it's just one of those things. Mumbai really need all of their stars to be playing, otherwise there's kind of gaps in the lineup. And then Rajasthan Royals, yeah, I expected better from them. I know they're going in with a slightly different setup, and typically having a full domestic batting contingent, other than kind of Hetmeyer, typically goes badly for IPL teams. If you look historically at the, what happened, kind of Mumbai Indians, I think, did it before, and they've faltered quite significantly. But Sunrisers, yeah, they are going to obliterate some teams. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the collective figures out how to beat Sunrisers. Like when you've got such a potentially dominating force, actually what you start to see is all the teams not working together, but trying to learn of each other every single game. And you saw Rajasthan try to do a little bit something different, right? They tried to bowl cutters into the pitch and try to negate what that is. But the game was already beyond them at that point.
And it still didn't work.
Yeah. And so, nothing has changed my views drastically. I still think there's a healthy buttercream in the middle. I think after 3 games where they start to settle on their kind of starting 11s, use of the impact subs, etc., that'd be quite interesting to see.
Cool. So we're back to a game a day until next Sunday as well, because obviously it's the IPL, so we want this tournament to last for as long as is humanly possible. I don't know when we're going to be back for our next show, because Jack is skiing, which he may or may not have mentioned, and I'm doing stuff. Ross is doing stuff. We'll find some time to do something, but the question is when. So we'll see. I don't know what we'll be reviewing in our next show, but for now we'll just do the next 3 and see who we think are going to take the glory. So first off, we've got the Delhi Capitals against Lucknow Super Giants. Ross, where's your money?
I'm gonna. This is a real. In Premier League terms, a real 6-pointer. This one, so I think Delhi
4-pointer in IPL terms.
Yeah, Delhi have to get off to a good start in this tournament. Otherwise, it's going to be a really long way back for them.
And what better way to get off to a good start than at home to Lucknow?
Yeah, and Lucknow, I think they've got plenty of injuries that they need to contend with. I don't think they've particularly got the strongest of batting lineups. I think between Pant, Puran, and David Miller, they've got 3 really good left-hand batters, but is that going to be enough to sustain them throughout the tournament? And is really the likes of kind of Mitchell Marsh and Markram really going to be able to solidify it? It might well do, Max. It might go against kind of all the evidence that we've got in front of us, but I think Delhi are probably going to come out on top in that spade.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone we've spoken to thinks that Lucknow are terrible, and them having their 4 first choice Indian pace bowlers injured doesn't change that fact either. If you're Delhi, they have. If you are Delhi, you absolutely have to win this game. If you don't win this game, it's curtains. I think it's huge, but I think they will. Yeah, I will side with Delhi on this one. Gujarat Titans, Punjab Kings on Tuesday in Ahmedabad. This will be a closer one.
Yeah, I think this will be a really fun game. I think Punjab have gone, completely new team. We have really no idea what they're going to do, which is typically the strategy that Punjab employ. Gujarat Titans have been I'd say a professional outlet, Max, since their kind of set up over the last kind of couple of years. Obviously, champions, runners up, didn't do so well last year. Want to bounce back, but they've made some pretty shrewd additions to their starting kind of 11 or 12. I think it will just come a game or two too soon for Punjab to have figured stuff out. So therefore, I think that Gujarat will win the opening game against them.
Yeah, I'm also leaning Gujarat with this one as well. So not much head to head going on. Maybe we can choose someone different for the game on Wednesday between Rajasthan Royals and the Kolkata Knight Riders, both licking their wounds after some fairly one-sided cricket this weekend. Who's gonna come back? Who's gonna bounce back fighting?
It's going to be a really interesting team setup for Rajasthan. They are going to be really hurt by this. Some of their bowlers will be sitting there going, "Oh my Christ, what have I done?" The way in which the Rahul Dravid needs to kind of go, look, you just need to put that in the rearview mirror. Kind of, it doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the present, right? The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. It's only the present. Go full Alan Watts on the philosophical nature of it, because if they don't, they'll be bringing that kind of baggage to a team that could also dismantle them.
Yeah.
Like KKR are no joke if they get firing, and they need to figure out a way where they've got clear fielding plans, clear bowling plans, and don't abandon it. You've got Narain who can cause some real damage up front, but they really need to be far smarter around the way in which they approach that game. KKR, I think there's a little bit to think around on the bowling front, because Jaiswal's not going to fail all the time. Sanju Samson showed that he was in pretty good nick, even though his finger surgery's only just happened in the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks. And I think there'll be a little bit more, I'm hoping, this is me as a Rajasthan fan, I'm hoping there'll be a little bit more thought that goes into the batting. Like Rian Parag, you bat at 4. That is what you do. Stop being a child. And so we'll see. But I think it will come too soon again for Rajasthan to figure all out. I think KKR will come back and the defending champions will put one over on my beautiful pink boys, unfortunately, Max.
Fair enough. Well, I'm gonna go with you again, I'm afraid, because Rajasthan are terrible at home, and also it's in Guwahati as well. So it's just I don't see it. Don't see it for Rajasthan. KKR going to be hurting after losing to RCB, and I think it could be dangerous again. I think Rajasthan need to work out what their best team is. I think the lack of spin, aside from Theekshana, is a real problem wherever you're playing in India, generally speaking. So yeah, another one. 3 out of 3. So you can bet on, if you want to place some bets on things, I would recommend going with the exact opposite of what we've said for every single game, because that's how these things tend to go. Okay.
Well, Max, I think just one final bit on that Rajasthan point. I'm not sure we went into a lot of depth on our preview, but the drop off in like the quality. So Rajasthan built the success both on domestic batting talent and domestic bowling talent, and obviously they had Ravi Ashwin and Yuzi Chahal in those spin positions. They've now got 2 overseas players, right, in Theekshana and Hasaranga. Hasaranga didn't play in that game, so they could actually facilitate kind of Faruqi playing or Jofra Archer playing, depending on which one is there, with Hetmeyer, and Hetmeyer has to play, right? He has to play. And so they've just managed to box themselves into quite a difficult position. And if you look at kind of the other options they've got available to them, you've got kind of Kumar Kartikeya, who, the left arm spin bowler. Again, it's such a drop off.
Okay, right? He's had bits and pieces. So was he with Mumbai Indians before? I think.
So it's a bit again. It's if they don't get the balance right, it's going to be a very long season for Rajasthan fans, unfortunately. But Jurel has proven that he can really step up and do what he needs to do. I think that was a really good innings. He was never going to hit 150 from that position, but did a decent job. And let's see what they can do. But Max, a chastening opening weekend for the Rajasthan Royals.
And just to round off how good our predictions are, apparently KL Rahul might be out for Delhi Capitals tomorrow. The man that I pinned for most runs.
Yeah, so, he's due. Well, he's not personally due, but his partner is due to give birth to their child. So that is why.
Yeah, at least it's happy reasons.
And what's the bet that it's going to be called King Legend Junior?
I would love that. That would be peak. It would be peak King Legend, and I'd be all for that. Right. Well, lovely to have you with me to go through all of that fun, all of that good cricket. The IPL's back. It's always good when we get to this point in the year. It's spring. It's starting to get sunny in the UK. The IPL's back, and we've got lots of fun cricket to talk about. So thank you for joining us, everyone, on the live show, and for tuning in. If you are catching us later on, we will be with you when we're with you. But until then, enjoy some more cricket, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.